All right, guys. So here we are. We're live, streaming, of course, and I have with me, of course, Mr. Jason Lebowitz and Miss Chantel Soumis. So you guys have been introduced to these two, but let's go ahead and bring in another one of the founders, guys. So, Jason, I'm going to leave it to you if you want to introduce this afternoon's special guest.
Absolutely. LinkedIn, welcome, Lecia Fox.
There she is.
Fox!
So there she is.
I
How
am.
are you doing?
I'm amazing. Thank you so much. You said afternoon. Where are you?
Well, I am in Texas, so it is almost noontime. It's 10 o'clock here, so little jump on the bed there, but a little early, but you know.
I get you. Okay. It's 10 here. I get it. Okay.
I know. It's morning. What are you talking about?
What time is it? I'm still drinking coffee. I'm behind.
I'm still drinking coffee. It's okay.
Well, here's the thing. Like, so sometimes I do these so often, hours and days just seem to run together. So, you know, I have, because I have people that deal with on different time zones, different continents. So I got to figure all this stuff out. So it's, it's one of those things. So good morning, guys. Well, tell me how you're doing. How's everything going?
Things are amazing. Thank you so much for pulling this together. Everybody on LinkedIn Live, thank you so much for tuning in to the live stream on Chantel Soumis' page. I appreciate it. Gabe is the producer. He's producing everything behind the scenes with the live programming. Right? Yes.
So
and Lecia is brand new to LinkedIn Live. You're new-ish to LinkedIn too. So give a warm welcome to Lecia. Her magic is usually Instagram, right? Is that your lifeline?
Yeah. That's where I'm playing at most of the time.
Oh, I love it. So if you don't know, Lecia and Jason are also the masterminds behind XXO Connect, which is what we're talking about. It's going to be the theme for ever, talking about how to build meaningful relationships and connection with others, and more importantly, with yourself. And Lecia is the goddess of self-connection. And we always have such fun dialogue when she jumps on and we talk about this. So Lecia, can you give an introduction of who you are and where all your magic comes from? Like your story in a nutshell?
Ooh, in a nutshell. Thank you so much. And I'm really grateful and excited to be here. So my work is done with clients around embodying and working with the nervous system. So sort of getting out of your mind and getting into your heart. And intimacy with self really begins from there. And a lot of times, especially when working with women, which is what I specialize in doing right now, not that I don't love the dudes, because I absolutely do want you to all experience your feelings. It's just where I'm feeling called right now. So I do a lot of one-on-one coaching. My path really started after 3, I would say, learning relationships. And I left an engagement and knew that this pattern was going to continue until I made some inner changes, because there was only one thing in common with all those 3 relationships, and it was me. And a little bit of my background is I was an Army brat, so bounced around all over the place, lived everywhere, and really great at making friends, but also really good at just moving on quickly, because that's kind of a part of the culture. You never really know when you're going to be moving on to the next place. So being a very gregarious child, that was a little difficult to never really feel like I had roots. So as an adult in my 30s, I was craving that deep connection and that understanding, like, how do people curate and cultivate these beautiful relationships? And so that sort of was the trajectory into my year-long journey, which ultimately became my teachings. We often teach what we need. So that's the work that I am doing now, is helping people connect into their bodies so we feel safe. When you feel safe in your body, you feel like you can be vulnerable. You can repattern a lot of these limiting beliefs and thoughts. That's it. That's what I do. Oh, I can't hear Chantel.
I I do this all the time. I'm sorry. That little mute button, I use it to my favor and my detriment. So thank you for sharing about you. I mean, it's beautiful that you say we teach what we need. Isn't that interesting? Think of on that for a minute. So anybody in the chat or tuning in with us live right now, if you could share what you're teaching, right?
Yeah.
That would be really insightful to find out a little bit more about you as well. So I teach personal branding, and I think that's something that everybody needs, especially myself, because it continues to change year over year. It's always different. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Can we give a shout out to I want to give a shout out to a couple people who are joining us right now. We have Trent, thank you so much. Hajar, Jairus, Ramesh, Shahzad, Terry, and Giannis. Thank you guys all so much for joining in on this conversation about connection. I love you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have a lot of amazing people, right? Because we're on, as you know, my LinkedIn Live right now. And this LinkedIn community that I've built over the past few years is mental health. It is really the law of attraction, which I wanted to talk about today because I had sent you both a little snippet of a documentary that I was watching last night as I was putting together my Moss board. And the law of attraction, it's really interesting because, back in the 90s, it was this fad that you could think of something and attract it into your life. But the secret was that people weren't picking up is that you needed to put the last 6 letters of attraction which is action, to work. So that was very interesting to me. So in your perspectives, how do you think what we attract in the world or the tone and the vibe and the voice that we put out attracts the people into our lives? Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah.
You should go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So, so funny because in my work, I work a lot with universal principle. So stepping into belief of normalizing joy and over normalizing suffering. And within that is more talking about the law of vibration, which is like harnessing your focus. So stepping into action, I think that you hit the nail on the head. Like when it comes to manifesting and attraction and all of these kind of like buzzwords right now, we forget that we have to do our part, which is to make the space for it, whatever that is. Maybe you have to clean out your closet to make space for that partner you're seeking, and that's your action piece. Maybe it's sitting and harnessing your focus for 10 minutes, really envisioning and stepping into the feelings of, maybe I don't know what it feels like to own a yacht, but that's something I really want. We'll just go there. I don't know why a yacht, but if that's really something that you want to do, then what would that be like? And who would it serve? And what would you do with your family on there? Like I really help my clients dive into the action piece can also be getting really clear. And so speaking of Chantel and her medicine, being a branding expert, we have to get clear on the messages that we are putting out into the universe. There's a great story about putting your order into the universal kitchen. If you were to just be like, whatever you think, and then you get spaghetti, but you really wanted like shrimp scampi, then that's kind of what we do all the time though. We're like, whatever life wants to give me is fine. But then when you get it, you're like, that's not what I wanted, because we weren't clear. And I think that's a huge part of the action piece. And surrounding action is this fear of asking for what we really want, because we've got to get through that like deserving piece. Do I deserve this? Am I to have this? Ugh.
Deserving. I know. So everybody who's watching, share what you want from the universe's kitchen. What order are you putting in? And if it's spaghetti, it's spaghetti. But write it down so that we can support you. And maybe it takes a community to come together and understand what it is that you want so that we can support you in getting there.
Totally.
Jason, what are your thoughts?
It's interesting is the law of attraction. I think a lot of people think, just I want this, so universe, give me this. And it doesn't work that way. When you talk about, it's almost a reflection of you. So depending where you are, and we all energy, we all vibrate at a different frequency. However, you can shift that frequency. And when Lecia talked about almost clearing space to create space, doing the inner work, working on us first, is to shift our frequency. We vibrate at a higher frequency. Your surroundings change. And that is, for me, the true law of attraction. And that's actually why I'm here today, and why both of you are here, is from where this started. And I reached out to you. And so I never would have known you guys had it been a couple of years ago through my transformation. So the law of attraction at that time wouldn't be attracting you guys or what I'm doing today. It would look very different. My surroundings would be very different. So I think it's a reflection of you asking where you are today, how far are you willing to go to become yourself? And you are going to attract that at that point because you are vibrating at that frequency.
I love that. I want to, where'd the question go? I wanted to speak to, thank you, Giannis, what he's saying, and maybe you guys can speak to this because I was just about to say something about that. See, we're already connecting, you and I. There's the other part of it too, like Jason was saying, is also not judging the package it may come in. So we can get so like, it's got to go this way. So Giannis, you're totally right. It does take us stepping back and saying, however, because our work is not the how, because if there's infinite possibility, then it could come, the money, the love, the experiences that you desire in any form. It's when we reject it because it's not exactly what we totally thought it would be. I know it sounds a little contradicting to what I said earlier, but that's where it gets deeper, connecting to, does it feel in alignment? Does that feel right? And that's that embodiment work where you want to be able to discern within your own body, is this in alignment with what I was asking for?
I think it's very interesting actually for Chantel, because she has her transformation, her story of what happened to you when you lost your job and you went through this major lifestyle. This really is the law of attraction. Why don't you speak to that? Because that
it totally is.
Yeah.
Yes. I was a negative Nelly, you guys. I was so depressed and like angry at the world, and I literally loathed myself. I mean, I have this conversation with my husband all the time that I couldn't even look myself in the mirror. And I was having a conversation with a client earlier that I didn't even know how to do my makeup until really recently, because that's how much I avoided my own reflection. And that negativity that I was putting out into the world was attracting nothing but negative energy into my life. I mean, my grades were terrible and all throughout high school, middle school. I had really bad relationships, no friends. I mean, I had those friends that were on swim team and in dance class, but nobody called me on the weekends. And if they did, it was probably because my mom desperately reached out to their mom saying, my daughter needs friends, come call her. But I was also, that shift happened when I lost everything. And what is that? You don't know what you got till it's gone. What's that singer?
Cinderella, right?
Put up a parking lot, right? I don't know. John Mayer? No. Is that it? I don't know.
It's somebody in that genre.
Well, anyways, you really don't know what you have until it's gone and it's ripped from you and you really appreciate it. And then you can dig into that sadness and that darkness and keep that negativity going, but that's not going to feed your soul. And I realized that the only person that's going to help yourself is you. And once you make that decision and you choose success and you choose fulfillment, that's when that manifesting, throwing that order out into the universe really starts to come. But again, it's only as powerful as it is taking the steps, those micro steps forward as well, and putting that action into place. So if you want to start that business, what's the first step that's going to come in and to get you to those goals?
Well, I want to dive deeper though, because this is really interesting, is that Chantel, and I think you talked last night on a live you're on, is that the moment where you lost your job, you just had your child, and then you lost your vision, you went through this diagnosis of MS and everything else, and literally you had to rebuild yourself. And almost like it was an overnight process, but you chose to rebuild yourself. You started vibrating at a different frequency. And that law of attraction was reflection of you and what you accomplished in a short amount of time, right? So literally, you shifted your life. You could have stayed and vibrated that low frequency, and your law of attraction, you wouldn't have received what you receive now with all of your success and happiness in life. So I think
but you know what's really interesting about that, though, is that I didn't have an anchor. I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have a mission. I didn't have a why until I had my son. I had this tiny, adorable little thing that I never knew could be possible because, again, I was told that would never happen. And then having this like little tiny thing depend on you for its next meal, that's heavy. And it finally had that purpose. So Lecia, maybe as you're the expert, how do you suggest people find their mission or find a why if they feel lost and they need that anchor, they need that connection?
Yeah. Woo, there's so many threads that were just like put out that I was like, okay, hold on to that.
Okay.
Paul was also a negative Nelly. Yes, Paul. It's an inner decision. It's a choice. What I notice with working with my clients, and this actually happened with me as well. So my story's not just, military brat. I also had a nervous, mental, physical breakdown 7 years ago. And that goes back to where I believe in our society and culture that we normalize suffering. So instead of normalizing joy, like if from the time you were little, it's like, whatever you want to experience, your job is to stay connected to your joy. If anybody on here follows Abraham Hicks, drop me a like, holla, because honestly, that was like one of the first channels and speakers that really taught me about the daily small actions of just aligning. So when someone comes to me and they're just like, I don't know what I want to do, the first thing I say is, yes, you do. Because I'm like, I won't minimize where they're at because I know the confusion, but that's part of like a sort of hiding from ourselves at times. There is so much power and greatness in every single person. And I don't care what your background is, your background story never disqualifies you. In fact, it qualifies you because that is your medicine. Whatever life has served you, you will be able to turn around and hold space and show up for people in that way. So what I start to do is dig back. Let's go back because there's just layers. You're like an onion. We need like 7-layer dip or something that's like a better representation.
A wedding cake.
Yeah, you are a wedding cake. And we want to get to what actually brings someone joy because someone, I think, I forget her name, but she was saying that Danielle Delaporte, who's an incredible spiritual teacher, was saying focus on how you want to feel. And that's part of why, that's the major part why I do embodiment work, because if we've normalized feeling like a native Nelly, then it almost seems impossible. How do I feel different? I've gone so long feeling this way. This is who I am. But a belief is just a thought that you keep thinking over and over. So when you were saying, Chantel, about those small daily actions, what's the next highest thought? Maybe it isn't, if you're not feeling great in your body and you look in the mirror and for the first time in your life, you look in the mirror and say, I love my body. It's going to feel like a lie. So what is that next step?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's so many steps involved in that. And I think that that's the biggest issue that we have is that we neglect that self-care. We neglect, unless you're a health food junkie and gym rat, you're going to not prioritize those vitamins, those minerals, those essential nutrients that in a deficit, if you're deprived of these essential nutrients and minerals, you're not going to operate at the capacity that you deserve to reach the next level. So it really is this holistic approach to being happy, to creating these successful, nurturing relationships. And Giannis, I saw you about a negative Nelly. How do you make them your friend? That was hard because I have negative Nelly friends from my past, and understanding that I'm not that person that I was then and I attracted that energy. It's hard to say goodbye and cut those off, but you don't have to. You can keep them at a distance and keep making new friends and add that good energy into your life, because people aren't going to change unless they want to change, which is unfortunate because you can't, especially as a fixer. I feel like some of us are fixers here that you want to help, and be that person that can help. But not everybody can be, and they need to want it in order to go forward.
It's interesting that what happens is you can outgrow relationships. And
Yes.
it can be so while you, whether it's in a romantic or personal relationship and you both start here, if one person goes through chooses to do the personal growth, personal development, really work on themselves and transformation, they're going to do this while your friends or partner or whoever could stay here. You can
Right.
outgrow a relationship. That doesn't make the other person a bad person per se. However, it can hold you back. And that's where boundaries come in. If you might not be able to let go of the person from your life, but you also need to create healthy boundaries or they're going to hold you down as well. So I think that's where, the boundaries happen, as you say, Chantel, people, that they're still in your life, but they're probably a little further away because you have a stronger boundary now.
Yeah. Something that I'm so passionate about is setting those boundaries because, when you put out that energy or what, I feel so woo woo when I say it without scientific data and statistics, but what really it is the law of attraction. And when you put yourself into this negative space, not knowing that you deserve more and you can be happy, you deserve happiness. You have to really focus in on yourself in order to make that happen. I lost my thought there, but thanks, guys.
No.
We just got two questions. Actually, two questions that came in from a post as well on this is from Beata Zanaska. One is, what are the most important qualities to be aware of in order to build and keep meaningful connections? So I'll ask you guys that first.
Sorry, what was
Lecia,
I listened to it. That's good. And then I was like, go ahead.
Okay.
What are the most important qualities to be aware of in order to build and keep meaningful connections?
So what is the most important qualities for you to have within yourself?
Or within others?
To be aware of in order to build these meaningful connections.
What are the most important qualities? Well, I look for reciprocity. So is the person, how do I feel? I always go back to feeling. I'm such a sensory, it's about how you feel. And if you feel like you leave, trust that noise. And that's where I feel like I love working with women because a lot of times when we are younger, we are told to sort of ignore that, people please, well, go give them a hug. And you're like, but I don't want to. So there's this understanding of how do you feel in them. It's not necessarily around them. It's not necessarily a quality so much as it is when you walk away, do you feel super drained? Like you were really there for them? Or do you feel like, oh my gosh, that person really fed me. I feel amazing in their presence. That feels so good. And do they dismiss you? Do they talk over you? Do they talk at you? Because everyone is at, we were just talking standards and boundaries. Everyone's at their own level, right? And it doesn't make it right or wrong. It simply means if you want to build a strong relationship with this person, we have to be able to speak this on the same language and speak the same language and at the same level. And are they actually growing themselves too? So can you practice vulnerability with them? It always starts with us. I don't really necessarily, empathy is a great one, compassion. At the same time, I think it always comes down to your interactions will be a reflection of what's going on within you as well.
You're right. I think it has a lot to do with intuition, but the unfortunate thing about that is not everybody is in tune to their intuition. Right. Not everybody listens to that feeling in their stomach when something just doesn't feel right, or maybe this person is giving them an off feeling. And that's been my issue in the past is I didn't, like Yana said, empathy maybe. I didn't have an empathetic bone in my body when I was a negative Nelly. I didn't have that intuition because I wasn't empathetic and I didn't really know how to relate and listen to myself first and foremost because I was drowning out who I was because I hated myself so much. But then once I started to listen and I really started to turn that intuition on, which is a choice. You can do it and you can dig in and control it. That's when the whole thing changed. That's when my life opened up and I experienced what I couldn't imagine I deserved, which is happiness. It's a beautiful thing.
If I heard you correctly, everything you described sounds like you finally found the connection to yourself.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
You like that? You like how I tied that in?
Beautiful.
It's so
I
true,
got
though.
one more question. A good question I'll follow to this, and I'll actually send it to Chantel, is what are the main reasons people would turn away from us? What drives people away from us?
When they're not your cup of tea. I mean, like, what are you putting out there? If they don't align with your message, with your vibe, with your tone, with your passion, your focus, your level frequency, if they don't align with that, that's what's going to turn them away. And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing to control who you have in your life and make sure that you're very selective about those people, because that is your energy. These people are feeding your soul. So it's important to feed yourself the right way, like the spaghetti order or the shrimp dealy bobs that you said. What is your flavor? What are you ordering? Because if you're not going to fill your platter with the right things, you're going to be disappointed. Right?
Totally. Yeah. And it all goes back to intention and what Chantel said with the willingness. If somebody is willing, those are your people. If they're willing to understand who you are and what you're all about, I think part of it, like Jason said, with interconnection, is the moment I accepted I won't be for everyone was the moment that I was okay when people walked in and out of my life. Instead of trying to control and have an attachment to them, I had an appreciation for what they had in my life. And I think appreciation over attachment changes the whole conversation.
Gabe, keep that comment up. So yeah, if Giannis says, don't you guys think that people will have to be aware of what is zapping our energy daily? And absolutely. And I think that comes down to really self-worth as well, of knowing what you're deserving of and where to put your energy every day, because we're only given a certain amount of energy every day. And I think any kind of unhealthy relationships or any toxic environments will really drain a lot of that energy, more so from one person can suck all of that away from you. So it's really establishing your boundaries. Right. And Chantal, I know you have a kind of a different name for it, spoonies, because of
yes.
The same concept.
Yes, in the chronic illness community, fatigue is debilitating beyond belief. And when you are dealing with chronic fatigue or chronic symptoms that devour you after so much activity in the day, you have to be super conscious about how you expel your energy or what you're going to be doing that day to get through the day. And sometimes that requires, skipping a few days without showering even, or putting on makeup, because that is a lot of energy. That's very taxing. And you wouldn't think about that in some sense, but from a different alternative perspective, for people who are not defeating these battles, you are still very in control of your energy and how you use it. And you really do have a specific amount of energy each day before you feel taxed and drained, and you just can't. You need to take a nap or eat your feelings. I don't know. Yeah. What's your mechanism?
Totally.
Yes. Well, Jason, go for it.
From Hajar, one of my favorite quotes by James Baldwin. It took many years of vomiting up the filth I'd been taught about myself and half believed before I was able to walk on the earth as though I had the right to be here. That's a deep one.
Yes, right. That is beautiful.
That's so beautiful.
So guys, that was a really great conversation. Loved it. And I know that Chantel, you have got a bit of a workload today. You've had a very fun week this week so far. So
thank you. Yes.
So I just wanted to come in here and get everything wrapped up and get everybody's final thoughts, and just again, kind of tell everybody to check out the Kickstarter website as well.
Mm-hmm. And connect with Lecia, connect with Jason, connect with Gabriel, make those connections, grow your community. This is the real deal right here.
It is.
Yes. And we're also, Jason, can you speak about the community that we're building on XXO Connect?
Absolutely. We are, Lecia and Chantel and I and Walter, who's not with us right now, we are all founders of XXO. We're building out XXO Connect. It's going to be a global, safe space, personal growth, transformational, and wellness platform. And it's going to be one of the first of its kinds, where it's going to be an app and a platform, creating a safe space to share in deep transformation and conversations, loaded with some amazing features, so far over here with no other alternative logins where your information is safe. It's a safe space to share these conversations. If you would move over to the Kickstarter link on the bottom, it tells all about what we're building. And we appreciate everybody joining in today on this conversation.
Yes.
Awesome. So these are becoming a more regular thing that we're going to be putting these together. And of course, as this journey continues to grow, guys, it's only going to get better, right? It's going to only get more people involved. And this is what we want, right, Jason? This is what we want to build that connection. And again, have that area where we can just be ourselves, right?
It's a space where we could be vulnerable and be intimate with each other. This is a very intimate conversation. We're sharing, we're talking about each other. We're in a space where we're not being judged. I can share who I am and you guys can share to me. I'm not judging you. And so we're really creating this little space here and we're creating a whole platform like this. Absolutely. And I love the community who's involved with us and everybody who's joining in the conversation. It means the world to us.
Yes, and it's only getting, like I said, it's going to only get better. So guys, thank you, Chantel.
Thank you,
Lecia. Thank you, Jason, as well, guys. Thank you for giving me the opportunity again to do this. This is always fun for me. So thank you guys so much. And
you're amazing.
I look forward to more conversations like this, guys.
Awesome.
We'll see you again, right?
Thank you, everyone. Everyone who participated. Yeah.
So everybody, that's all for today's show. We will be back next week, I think, 10 o'clock.
You got it.
Central Standard Time. Another great conversation, folks. We'll know about it. So you have a good rest of your day, guys, and everybody else. Catch me this evening, just real quick. Catch me this evening. I'll be live 7:30 Central Standard Time. I stream 5 nights a week, just to let you guys know. So goodbye, everybody. Let's give everybody a good wave.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Right here.
All right, guys.